Us, Adrian Basson from Hungry Lion is joining us today on Talking Shop with PolygonProp. And Adrian's given us some indication of what it is he'd like to talk about. Obviously, always important is what are your future plans? What have you got to date so that the guys in the market have an idea of what you're looking for. Adrian, welcome.
Thanks, Francois. Yes, for the last couple of years, you were telling me that you guys are the place to find new sites. And since we're on a quite aggressive, optimistic expansion plan, I'm here to help spread the word that we're looking for some sites. So currently, we've got about 280 stores either built or have signed already that in either planning or being built. That's in 5 Southern African countries, mostly South Africa, Namibia, Zambia, we're quite big, Botswana, Angola. And we're looking at some other countries probably in 24, 25. So for the next 3 years, we want to do another 280 stores, so doubling the footprint over the next 3 years. So quite ambitious, but I think we can do it if we find the right sites.
Okay, that's great. I think just to give the market an indication, Adrian, what is your ideal building, if there is such a thing? What is your ideal tenant mix? So I'm saying, is it convenience or is it community and tenant mix, and maybe market as well, just what market you play in, middle, lower, whatever?
Yes. Franch, I think a couple of things is important. One is Hungry Lion is corporate owned. So all our stores are owned by ourselves and managed by ourselves. We use a lot of technology between machine learning and AI and all the other buzzwords to use technology to manage the business efficiently from Stellenbosch. So we can run a store in Uppington and Lusaka and Luanda and Windhoek and Lusikisiki and wherever else we can run efficiently. So the location is actually not irrelevant to us, but we can manage a store anywhere, and we don't need to find a franchisee to run that store efficiently. We've got technology and systems in place to do that. From a market segment point of view and sort of what sites we're looking for, we're relatively flexible. We can do a site in 100 square meters to 200 square meters. Our sweet spot, I would say, probably 160 to 180. If we do our own seating, obviously in a food court, it could be 100 square meters because then there's shared seating, etc. So we're quite flexible. We don't have a one size fits all model. We do most of the designing, everything in-house. So we can have a quick turnaround and fit into any location. What is important to us is that we inline, we there to draw feet to the shopping center and to use feet that's already in the shopping center. So I think high foot traffic, either in the mall or in a CBD or on a corner site, even a forecourt at the fuel station, we need foot count. So we're not doing drive-throughs at this stage. Maybe in 2-3 years we can look at that, but at this stage we're focusing on inline, and I think that's quite unique in our market currently. Most of the guys want to go to drive-throughs, which I think is not the correct option for most small and medium-sized malls, because it pulls the customers out of the mall and they don't actually get to walk into the mall. So while you're buying your clothes, you also want to buy your food, you also want to browse, and we cater for that market. And I think we add a lot of value to a shopping mall or a site where we can add to the foot count.
Yeah. So what you are saying is you add to the dwell time. With a 200 square meter store, you've got a substantial amount of sit down opportunity. The family that is shopping there for the day can take a proper break.
So we invest in air conditioning and good sound system and nice seating and nice lighting and ambience. So it's not just selling chicken and getting the guys out of there. It's adding value. Some places it's takeaway mostly, but most of our stores have got a substantial seating portion that, exactly like you say, creates an area where people can sit down. Everyone doesn't want to walk in a shopping center for 2
Yeah.
hours. They want to sit down and
Oh.
relax every now and again.
No, for sure. I think shopping needs to be entertaining, and that's part of it. You mentioned that you guys are going into forecourts. What size? I mean, is that even smaller than 100? If there is an opportunity at a filling station?
Yeah, so most of our filling stations has been outside of South Africa, Namibia, Zambia. We're looking at a couple of sites currently in South Africa as well. So forecourts would be ones that are probably more CBD based or in high foot traffic areas. We don't want to rely just on the vehicle traffic, but also just the general chaos that surrounds some of the fuel stations. So
Okay.
again, some of the fuel stations do have extra space that they do want to let out. Historically, the fuel owners used to only want to have brands where they own and manage the business themselves, where we're in the business of renting space and then operating the stores at the forecourt. So the opportunities are not that great in South Africa, or not as many. But if there's opportunities, it's not that we're opposed to it.
Okay.
It's just the opportunities are less. The model in the rest of Africa is different, where the fuel operator operates the fuel and they let out the space to the quick service restaurant operators, because running a fuel station and a chicken store takes two different personalities.
I can imagine. Just on that, then, I think something that is interesting and that I know is something that you look at is turnover rental. How do you see that, and what is your view on that? I mean, do you see that
Yeah.
yeah? What is your view?
Yeah, I think if there's a couple of things. One is personally that what I think and what is good for Hungry Lion, and then what I think is good for the industry. So personally, I'm an accountant, so I work out the net present value of the cost of the site over 5 years and over 10 years. And we've got assumptions what we're going to do on turnover. So it's a balance between turnover, the TI allowance, the escalation, the rand cents per square meter. So all of those things play a role. And in the end, it's a net present value sum. And I think from a landlord point of view, we're happy to play around with those numbers. Every landlord has got a different objective. Either they want to pump the valuation of the shopping center, or they want to sell it, or they want to keep it, or they want to get financing, or they want to, do something at their income statement or their balance sheet. So they've got their ambitions. We're flexible. We're not, against any variation of rental payments.
Okay.
So we're quite flexible in that. It does add a lot of extra admin sometimes, especially in sites that are not as organized, or shopping centers that are not as organized. That's sort of where I'm sitting on my own. What I do see as an opportunity, and where I think the industry is missing a trick, is the turnover rentals. I can understand why the landlords want it. If their business grows, they get more rental and they get the upside. Currently, the retailers are not seeing any benefit from that turnover rental. And what I think could happen is that there should be a body like Nielsen's or whoever that does what they do for the supermarket group. So coming from the ShopRite group and background, we always had all the stats of market share and the trends analysis, etc. A lot of the big landlords have got all these turnover figures of all the quick service restaurants, for instance. If that gets consolidated into a market report with a Nielsen that anonymizes the data and say, listen, the quick service restaurants grew last month at this percentage, or this is the trend, or the chicken category versus the pizza category. I think there's value in that. So if the landlords start using that information to the benefit of the tenants, and we can get that information, I think everyone will be a little bit more willing to budge on the turnover rental debate. And there's also the distributors, Digistics, Vector Logistics, even famous brands. If those guys can consolidate their anonymized data to, like I said, a third party that can verify the trends and see what's happening within our industry. And that I'm not seeing.
Okay.
We don't see the trends that the landlords see. So they get all the information, they look at the trends, but I don't think it's being shared efficiently and up to the level that it could. to the retailer. So that's the one portion. On Hungry Lion itself, when we do turnover rentals, the only concern that we've got or challenge that we've got is that we operate at a much lower GP than the typical quick service restaurant. So because we're not franchised, we take the franchise fee, we put it back in the price, and we go for high volume, low margin. So we try to drive volume and get the feet into the door and drive traffic. Now, if you've got a low GP, plus you have to pay the high percentage turnover rentals that some of the other quick service restaurants have to pay, then that's counter to our business model where we want to drive volume, and then we want to say, okay, let's rather lift our GP and do less volume, because otherwise we're just working for the landlord. So sometimes that's a debate that we have with the landlord and say, just you have to look at our business model and our margins and how we operate and what our aim is. Therefore, turnover rentals are fine, but typically lower than the quick service restaurant industry norms that some of the landlords are used to.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And you're just saying, so yeah, you would discuss it, but it need to fit your model, and you might agree to a different percentage than some of your competitors.
Exactly. I think just from, just like you treat a clothing retailer different to the anchor tenants turnover rental to a quick service restaurant and a sit-down restaurant, even within the quick service restaurant, we have got a slightly different business model than all the other guys. All of them are franchise-based, or the majority of quick service restaurants in South Africa are franchise-based. They typically work on higher GPs than what we work on. So that needs to be taken into account when we wrestle.
I think that's an important point in the sense that, even with pizza, I find the same. Some guys have got a different recipe and a different margin to end up at more or less, where they need to end up to make their GP work. And landlords have got to be aware of that there's not a flat rate 8% on fast food, for example. While you're saying wrestle, Adrian, negotiating with landlords, are there things you think that they're missing and putting a lot of attention on, where they're kind of missing the point maybe when negotiating? Is there some advice you'd like to give landlords, let's put it that way, being a senior in the property game?
I can speak on behalf of Hungry Lions. I can't speak on behalf of the industry, but what we find is that there's a lot of cases where we've shown interest in certain sites over the years, and it's not available. And then 3 years later or 2 years later, I come past the site and the site has changed hands. The efficiency of communicating to the retailers, and I think maybe PolygonProp is hopefully going to fill that gap, is to let the retailers know that their site's available. There's definitely a communication gap. It's difficult finding the empty sites or the sites that are going to change hands. And I think that's something that we need to solve, and I think you guys are doing a good job in accelerating that communication process.
Thanks.
The second one is on our side, we're looking for sites. We corporate-owned sites. It should be quite easy to deal with us, so we can react quite quickly. But there's sometimes a back and forth either between the letting agent that's got their own objectives and the property owner maybe at the background, which we sometimes can't pierce through. Now, I understand why they want to put an agent between themselves and the tenant, but sometimes there's small little nuances that you just need to sit around a table and talk about and have a conversation and say, listen, I can do this for you, you do that for me, and it's a win-win situation. And sometimes when you work via the letting agents in the middle, they don't have that mandate. And I wish that sometimes you could pick up the phone and call a landlord and say, can we just chat about this? So again, back to communication, where a win-win situation is the aim.
Okay, now I think those are two important points. One being, as you say, agents maybe not some of them not feeling safe enough, not wanting to let go. If it was that you can freely talk agent, landlord, and tenant, as you say, resolving things around the table is a quarter of the time. So that's a very good point. That agents feel safe that when
I'd
they
always
work with
say,
you.
and in the reverse, if there's a landlord that's dealing with Hungry Lion and dealing with my team on the property side, and there's some issue or they want to discuss something with me, pick up the phone, give me a call, send me an email. I'm happy to discuss any small little issue with any landlord that might come up.
Yeah.
Obviously, 90% of the issues will be dealt with through the normal channels, but there should be that option to say, listen, when you hit a ceiling or a blocked, a closed door, how do you get past that? And that's something that I find the let's call it the gridlock sometimes can't get
ungridlocked. I hear what you're saying. It goes
easily.
nowhere. And then thanks, for the other one, I agree with you. Property is still, unfortunately, everybody tells you they've got a waiting list, but they're all written down on a piece of paper somewhere and not kept track of. So we're working hard on that, where if a guy wants a certain area, hopefully there's a system that can remember, and it'll make everybody's life a lot easier. Adrian, great. Yes. Thanks for your time. I think those were brilliant insights. Good luck with your 280 over 3 years. And the guys can contact, we'll put on here Jacques and Dreyer's detail.
Jacques Dreyer handles all our leasing. He's full-time at Hungry Lion now, so he handles all leasing. But again, anyone that's got my number, also welcome to contact me if there's anything urgent, but Jacques handles the majority of the day-to-day leasing.
Correct. Thanks. We'll put those numbers up. And thanks for your time.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks,
Cheers, man.